Jam me, jack me, push me, pull me, talk hard.
Pump Up the Volume is one of those movies that you had to be there at a certain age, otherwise you would pass you by and you wouldn't even know it actually exists. It's disguised as another teen angst movie from the late 80s, but it is much, much more. I'm Meffistoe, and let's review this movie.
Talk hard!
Pump Up the Volume tells the story of Mark Hunter, a high school student in Paradise Hills, Arizona, who takes the persona of a pirate radio DJ at night and talks about his gripes and his own school, and he plays subversive music. As the titular Happy Harry Hard-On, his DJ persona, he can express his real feelings, and of course, as any good DJ does, he reads letters and have call-ins with his audience.
This is Happy Harry Hard-On, you're live. Is this Miss Screwed Up?
Yes?
Up to a point, the radio broadcast is annoying but relatively harmless, until that one call that changes it all and things become much more serious by the minute, involving first the police and then the FCC.
Mr. Charles U. Farley, 1122 Crescent.
But that's the address of the school.
Chuck U. Farley.
Like I tried to do with most of my deep diving reviews, I want to give you a little bit of background about this movie. The writer-director Allan Moyle was actually retired from film directing and was content to just be a writer after his last film got taken away from him. He came up with the idea of a teen using a pirate radio because he was fascinated with the phenomenon at the time. The script got developed with the high school corruption angle due to Moyle's sister, who was working at a Montreal high school that has sort of the same scandal.
Mrs. Crestwood would then proceed to weed out those she felt were undesirable.
Nonsense.
Moyle got a development deal that specified that if no suitable actor was found until a certain point, the deal was actually off. Moyle was looking for someone that can personify Lenny Bruce and Holden Caulfield, the narrator from The Catcher of the Rye, were all wrapped up into one high schooler. Initially, John Cusack was approached, but he turned it down because he didn't want to make another teen-based movie. Eventually, Christian Slater was selected.
These letters asking for love advice. I mean, if I knew anything about love, I would be out there making it instead of sitting in here talking to you guys.
The role of Nora, however, was a completely different story. The role was apparently hard to cast. There were many named actresses that wanted the role, but didn't fit with Allan Moyle. One name I managed to scrounge up was Drew Barrymore. Samantha Mathis just returned from Europe to this casting call. As the casting director saw her, she told her that it was probably better if she didn't just come off the plane. Mathis came back the next day and read the part for Moyle and producer Sandy Stern, and it was a match. Of course, this all got solidified as soon as she read with Slater because both had great chemistry.
Not your name, but your game. I know the true you. Come to me, or I'll come to you.
Mark's English teacher, Alan Green, was cast because Moyle loved her in Little Shop of Horrors and cast her off of that. On a side note, 2 years prior to that, Green was involved in another radio-based movie called Talk Radio, playing the ex-wife of the leading role.
He was beating up students! What's wrong with this school?
Control yourself.
I will not! I want an answer!
Or suffer the consequences.
One of the most interesting things I found about the movie is that Allan Moyle asked George Lucas to be a consultant on it, or maybe even produce it. Moyle loved American Graffiti and really wanted to work with Lucas. However, despite liking the script, Lucas refused, citing a burnout, and he wanted to put all of his efforts on his own projects.
Totally, exhausted decade where there's nothing to look forward to and no one to look up to.
I think Moyle somehow managed to capture not only a moment in time, but also the essence of that thin line between a teenager and being an adult. He also captured that smell of teen spirit that Kurt Cobain sang about, and in doing so created a movie that is just as relevant today as it was in the late 80s and early 90s.
I like that. Talk hard.
This all coming off the PMRC group trying to ban heavy metal for corrupting the youth. The subject matter isn't the same, but it is the spirit of it. The school in which Mark attends bans kids with lower test scores in order to keep up appearances, but it also bans subversive music. Alternative rock and rap were on the rise back then and were the prime targets. According to Samantha Mathis in a 2020 interview, Moyle picked out all the songs for the soundtrack, and all of them were a big hit with the young cast. Speaking of music, as a side note, the opening song for Harry's show is Everybody Knows by Leonard Cohen. The song was picked not only because Moyle loved it, but because it represents everything that Mark wants to tell the people who want to listen.
Parents and teachers telling you what to do. You have movies, magazines, and TV telling you what to do, but you know what you have to do.
When we covered this movie on the show, our guest brought up something interesting that I thought of, but he articulated really well. Mark is nothing but a mask, and Harry Hardon is the real character. It is the real Mark. Mark Hunter, the high school kid, is just Bruce Wayne, but Mark, as Harry Hardon, is the Batman, the vigilante that does, or in this case, says the truth. He says it over pirated airwaves. He says it because it's dangerous to tell the truth, because he knows it is the right thing to do.
They say that I am deluded, demented, deranged.
Mark is also fully aware that what he is doing is illegal, but as Harry knows, so be it.
Well, guess what I say? So be it!
I think Harry Hardon is the voice of freedom. He represents the human spirit that longs to be heard. He is the court jester pointing at the king, telling everyone he is naked. Harry is subversive as the music he plays. He is that shining beacon in an otherwise dark life that those teens with angst think it is.
I don't know what to tell this guy because, lately every time I give advice, the fit hits the shan.
The movie points out the power of words, not in terms of blindly following a leader, but the spark of ideas and critical thinking about what is actually going on around us. That's why Mark shouts at the end of the movie,
Talk hard!
because sometimes it is hard to listen to offensive things, even though they are the naked truths. As I said, this movie is very relevant to today. On YouTube, we have a variety of voices. Mark or Harry can be compared to any offensive, crass YouTuber that either creates videos or live streams and spouts ideas that criticize the mainstream, whether it's the mainstream media, mainstream Hollywood, mainstream politics, and so on and so forth. I can think of a few of those people. Nerdrotic, Heel vs. Babyface, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy from The Quartering, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, Andrew from Legal Mindset, Andre and Tom from Midnight's Edge, Critical Drinker, Anna, that Star Wars girl, Yellow Flash, that Umbrella guy, to name just a few. And I'm sure you can find more names like this. All of them are doing the same thing that Harry Hardon does, and all of them, just like in the movie, inspire more and more people to open up a channel on YouTube and speak their mind. Essentially, talking hard.
Tonight we have number 12 of 100 Things to Do with Your Body When You're All Alone.
Just remember, these voices I named are not the pioneers. Oh no, these voices I named are the successors. Many Marks and Harrys were already silenced, not by the FCC, but by YouTube itself. I'm sure you can think of more voices that are still around, and a few that have gone away by the wayside. But the spirit of the free speech still lives.
Drugs are out, sex is out, politics are out. Everything is on hold. We definitely need something new.
I know I went on a tangent there, but this is how I feel when I'm watching this movie again after all these years. The movie that inspired me to actually start streaming. Hell, from my first year, I started every stream with the song that is the biggest paraphrase for the entire movie. Everybody knows.
Hallelujah!
I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, like, share, and subscribe, but mostly share it around. All I want is to share my love of movies and movie storytelling to people who just want to listen. And remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things. and no good thing ever dies. I'll see you on the next video.